Good evening, everyone, and welcome to BT's Fly Tying Friday. Tonight, the 6th of March, we are delighted to have our good friend Eric Austin tying some historic flies. Weekly tip, we're going to talk about Elmer cement and a possible substitute. For now, though, we're the BTs from Boise, Idaho, and we are delighted to tell you all about our friend Eric Austin. Eric Austin, the fly tying history buff, is originally from the Adirondack region in New York State, where he grew up tying and fishing Catskill style flies. He studied via email for 2 years with Irish fly tyer Alice Conba. She is a great commercial fly tyer from Ireland and has been featured at the Irish International Fly Fair in Killy something or another, Ireland. Eric's work has been featured on the cover of Fly Tire magazine 6 times. We're jealous, Eric. We've only been there 5 times. You're ahead of us. Tonight, join us in welcoming our good friend to the program to tie a couple of historic patterns, a Mickey Finn married wing and a hen wing sulfur spinner. Eric, it's all yours. Go for it.
Thank you, Al. That the hen wing spinner is technically not historic, other than it's a hen wing style spinner, which I always think of as an older style of spinner. And I did some spinners recently on Rick Flink's show, and didn't get to the hen wing. It was going to be the third fly, but I get talking and. Anyway, so I'm going to do that tonight to try to make up for that. The first fly I'm going to do is from Joe Bates' book. It's called Streamer Fly Tying and Fishing. And he's got a series of flies in this book that were tied up in Montreal, Canada. And they are well, the Mickey Finn in particular is one. And of course, we all know that Mickey Finn is a bucktail, but he's done a married wing version of it. And I'll show you. Here is some that I've tied. Here's the here's the Mickey Finn, but there's an entire series of these married wing streamer flies kind of peppered throughout the book. Here's a Parmacini Bell. This is trout fin. Reminds me of the Bergman Fontinalis, but this is called trout fin. And this one, this is a chub pattern, and he's got another name for it. The name escapes me at the moment. Hang on, I'll tell you. Let's see what that is. It's a harlequin. He calls it a harlequin. Well, a harlequin to me is a classic salmon fly, and it's completely different. It looks like you'd picture a harlequin, actually. But anyway, that chub pattern, he's named harlequin for whatever reason. And the Canadians did a lot of married wing streamers and did a lot of quill wing streamers. These wings are made from segments of goose quill. Typically, duck quill's not long enough to do the streamers. For this particular streamer, this one here, the Mickey Finn, I've got this recipe, and I thought I was being really clever. I went and found a short 3X long old Mustad 9671. I said, boy, nobody will know anything about this hook. And here's a picture of the box. And lo and behold, I think it was last week, John Kreff, I believe, tied a fly on not this smaller version, but this very hook, a 9671. I used to tie a lot of streamers on the 9672, which is probably 4x long, I'm going to guess. It's a little longer. But you need a short hook for these because you only have so much strand length on this wing. And the wings will be made from these quills, and here is a goose quill. And don't get these mixed up with goose secondaries. These feathers have a reverse curvature to them. They're the primary feathers on a goose. And this is a left feather. As I look at the feather with it straight up and down, the longest fibers are on the left. Now, the tail and the wing of this fly will be made up of lefts and rights. And when we go to marry the wing on this fly, I'll be marrying the lefts together, slips cut from the left feathers, like this one, and for the other wing, I'll be marrying rights together. And lefts will only marry to lefts, and rights will only marry to lefts. Rights will only marry to rights. They will not marry to each other. Where do you get your quills? You can't get them anywhere anymore. Along with Benecki thread, which I'll use tonight, Grifston, which I'll use tonight. All my favorite materials are going by the board. You can get these on the internet occasionally, and you've got to strike while the iron's hot when you find some. But you've got to look around. Natural materials are going away. They just are. It's heartbreaking to me. But it is what it is. So get to know hunters, get to learn to dye materials, and have Al send you anything else that you might need. He's got it. Trust me.
Eric, the emails are coming in so fast I can't keep up with it.
Right. Let's get going on this thing. Got a hook and device here that 9671. This is a small. It's a number 12. I'm using uni 8/0 thread, and I'm going to leave. I always say, it's a small space, about 1/8 of an inch up front. I want to leave, and I want to try to keep it pristine for the wing, because I want to try to do a small head on this. And these married wing flies, it's difficult to get a small head. It can be. So we'll see how it goes. Now, the first thing that goes on is the tail. And in order to get some slips for the tail, I'm going to start. This is a left. This is going to make up one side of the tail. It'll be the far side, actually. I'm going to try to cut 4 strands, and I'll probably wind up with 5, but that's okay. I don't see like I once did. A lot of times it's a little easier. As a matter of fact, I can see if I can. You can more easily see the back and try to get your 4 strands there, but don't lose too much sleep. As long as you have at least 4, you'll be all right. And you can just trim off a slip or a strand. Now, putting these together, I always put these together on my thigh, and I've been threatening to get a thigh camera for years, but I still don't have one. But it's really hard to put these together like this because they're so thin. I can try. Let's see. I can try, and I'll probably fail. Let's just see how it goes.
Eric, why not marry them on the feather and then cut off cut them off then?
Explain that. I've got a
Okay.
left and a right. They won't marry together.
No, but if you get your the first four off of the feather, and then you want to marry it to, and I assume with this fly you're talking about marrying it to a yellow, marry it to the yellow, and then
No, we're doing the tail. It's just red.
okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, we'll get to the marrying later. In a little bit. Anyway, real tough to get these together, and it looks like my far one might be 5 strands. I'm gonna trim a strand off here, like so. All right. So I came up with a trick that I'll show you that helps with these tails. It's just hard to get those tips together. Take some of BD's dubbing wax, which is tacky, and it says tacky right on it, and it is. Put some on your finger, and then take one of these, the far tail, and stick it on there, which of course now it's not going to stick. Perversity of the universe. It worked great when I tried it in practice. Now it's not working so great. Well, I'll have to do it the old-fashioned way, I guess. Once I get these paired up, which honestly shouldn't be this hard, but you pair them up concave sides together, and that's what's hard because they have a lot of curvature. Once you get them paired up, you want about a shank length and no more on these tails. If you make the tails too long and then try to put the wing in the right position later, it can be a problem. Put 2 or 3 wraps on this and get it lined up as best you can. I like to straddle the hook with these butts and then work your way down, keeping the butts on top. When you get towards the front, cut it off at an angle. Go back to your tails and go all the way back, holding the tails up like that. The next thing that goes on is a piece of ribbing, and this is small silver tinsel. I like to mount these on the far side of the hook with the idea that thread torque then is going to pull them down. You just need a turn or two on that just to keep it in place for the time being. And flat silver tinsel, medium. And I use metal, which is traditional, You can use Mylar, certainly. You have to be careful with this tinsel. It's sharp and can cut your thread. But in a perfect world, because you mounted stuff on the far side of the hook, it'll get pulled underneath, and everything will be bound down underneath the hook, which is a good technique to get in the when for doing classic salmon flies later if you're headed there. And if you think materials for this stuff is a problem, do the full dress salmon flies. I swear I spent as much time with the salmon flies finding materials as I do tying them. You know what? I'm looking at this. I'm gonna just drop something. I'm going to redo this. These turns need to be touching. And I wasn't paying attention. Oh, well, maybe too late. Run into a problem here. We'll just go with it. I would normally redo that. Now, to tie this off, there's a lot of ways you can do this. What I've always done is I've kind of pinched it, trapping it a couple of times, and then I'll cut it off flush on the bottom. Then take some turns over that flattened end, and that tends to, because of thread torque, it tends to tighten everything up. Winding the ribbing, typically 5 turns of ribbing. And the 6, bring up on the side. And again, I'll trap it a couple of times. When I say trap it, I mean take a turn behind it, a turn in front of it, and then another turn behind it. The next thing that goes on is hackle, and it's hen hackle. And this is off a Waiting American hen neck. Let me show you, see if I've got it here. Yeah, this is a Wapsi hen neck. And I had a Wapsi hen neck a few years back that the 2 example photos that I showed, or the one, I guess I just showed the one. What is it? Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is tied with Wapsi hen hackle, and I really like that. This is Whiting American, and it's just hackle. It's not made into wings like that. Apologize, I'm getting ahead. Wrong fly. This is I'm pretty confident I dyed this myself. It's just yellow.
By the way, while you're working on Oh, sorry. While you're working on that, Fred Dupre wants to know if you could use turkey instead of goose.
Um, you could if you had pure white turkey that you dyed later, okay, that had reverse curve. You can look at a lot of turkey feathers, and some will have one side or the other that has reverse curvature. It curves. Let me see if I can show you here. It curves up on the ends. Like if you look at this end, it doesn't. This just doesn't curve down, and most turkey does, or a lot of it does. But this then curves back up. Okay. Um, you see how that curves up? And that's what you need for this fly. Um, Traditionally, they didn't use turkey for this.
Dennis would like to know if you can turn the vise so we can see the top of that before you wrap the hackle.
So we can see the top of it.
Top of the fly, yeah.
Oh. Hmm. This is how I fold my hackle always. Fold it on the fly. And you want 3 or 4 turns. Pull the butts forward and take some turns around. And at this point, you can. There's a European technique that I kind of like that works sometimes. Not that time. My thumbnail might not be in the proper shape to do that. Pull the hackle down into a beard. Go around the back of it with one turn, which I think I missed. Up the middle with a turn, and then right in front with a turn. And you'll get a nice spread. You can use other methods. There's the DFO method, or DeFeo, however you say that. I think I've said it incorrectly for years. Which involves you just take a bunch of hackle and tie it on the bottom. Basically, and the real method is you use both. You cut out the center of the tip, and then you put the whole thing, kind of hold it down so there's strands on each side, and tie it in that way. Regardless of how you do it, get some hackle on there. I'm changing to black thread now because I'm getting ready to tie in the wing. And it needs to be tied in with black thread because the head of all these old flies were always black. And I've never known, and I still don't know, whether that was because this tail is curved a bit. It's just the way the fibers are, I believe. I've never known whether the old tires just use black thread. You know, I think maybe they might have, because all the old patterns, all the old wet flies certainly, almost without exception, have black heads. All right, now we're going to marry a wing. We're going to start with the lefts, which is going to make up the far wing. And we're going to start with a slip 4 strands wide for the middle. All right, so there's, let's say for the sake of argument, that's 4 strands. I don't know. And then we'll cut a slightly larger section, 5 strands wide, to go on top of it. And we'll hold them together in place, and then just stroke them together, and they'll go together edge to edge. And then we'll cut another yellow, 5 strands wide or so for the bottom. And that's going to make up the far wing. All right. Now we're going to get rid of the lefts, put them somewhere else. Get rights out. Here's a right. When I'm doing a big married wing on a complicated one on a big salmon fly, I'll just take lefts out of their packages, marry that wing, and then I'll just take rights out. I think I've got maybe one too many here. Just kind of eyeballing this. So I need 5 strands or so. With the yellows, it's less important. You can get 6, and I'm pretty sure I got 6 here. But we'll fix it. I usually only take 1 strand off at a time, because I've gotten in that habit, because it can make a huge difference when you're only talking 3 or 4 strands. Okay, this red, if you look at it closely, we're missing some pieces. So I'm going to get another red slip. See if this one's any better. What you're actually doing when you do this marrying stuff is you're creating another feather out of different feathers. And this marrying stuff is easy. Mounting the wing is tough. It's difficult. But marrying the wing, a lot of people seem to get bogged down with the idea of marrying, like there's something magical or difficult about it. Where you really will run into trouble marrying is two ways. One, if you get lefts and rights mixed up, God help you, because they will never marry together no matter what you do. And you'll drive yourself crazy trying to get them married. That's one way. The other way is trying to marry feathers, secondary feathers to primary feathers. Remember, primary feathers on a goose and on a duck have reverse curve. Now you're trying to marry something with a straight curve to something with a married curve, or with a straight curve with a reverse curve, and that presents problems. Now I've got a couple of wings. I'm going to do on my thigh. I'm just putting them together, concave sides together, tips up.
In case you're interested, while you're doing that, Fred Dupre says, Eric, I've got about 10 pairs of goose quill in case you're interested in them.
Fred, I am. But I know somebody else here was desperate for goose quill, and I do have quite a bit here. So I'll happily defer to anybody else who needs goose and wants to do some of these flies. More important to me that happens than that I get more goose, but getting more goose would be great. I'm not going to lie. All right, let me talk about mounting these wings. You need to straddle the hook, but I like to, well, first of all, I want this bottom yellow section here to almost made up with the tip of the tail, like that. Almost like you're going to marry them together, and you could marry them together. So what I'll do is I'll get that situated. I'll make sure as best I can that I'm straddling the hooks with the butts. And sometimes you can think you're straddling the hook and you're not. And okay, and then I'll take a pinch and I'll form a V with by raising these butts up, and I'll be grabbing the butts as well at the same time, with the idea being that I'm keeping everything in place. I'm keeping everything vertical. All right. And I want to get 4 good turns on here. And notice I'm spinning the bobbin up in order to strengthen the thread. I can take a look at the far side, and the far side has collapsed a little bit. So I'm gonna redo these. What happened was I didn't get the far side straddling the way I want. Let's try this again. Can't get my pinch. There it is. Straddling now. Now I'll pull everything up. I want to get 4 good turns on here. Pull these up. Cut that off. Wind things down. And I'll start at the bottom and I'll wind up aggressively. Trying to get coverage of all the yellow. I haven't quite got it. Wing is a touch out of position. I don't know if I can fix it or not. I don't think so. Let's see. You know, they say that you can't go beyond your initial turn. That's a myth. You can do that. I didn't get the head I wanted quite, but anyway, we'll call this done. You can see that you could almost marry the tail to the wing, and that is the look that he gets in the book. That is the married wing, Mickey Finn, and you've always got to glue the head on any wet fly. You have to glue the head. There's no way around. If it's got quill wings, it's got to be glued.
What kind of glue are you using?
I'm using Grifstin, which is unavailable.
How come you're using all that stuff that's unavailable?
Because it's what I like.
To torment us. So
That's it. I mean, you know,
No, you can use Fly Tight is the closest thing. I think Ian Anderson used Fly Tight recently, and I have used Fly Tight. Oh man, I'm making a mess of this.
Eric, I'm surprised you didn't use wax your thread before you started tying in that wing. Just
yeah, wax will make them sit a little better.
well,
How about healthy hoof? Can you?
Yeah, I am. I've got it. I've got it here, but I need to let this dry a little bit. Here's why I don't wax the thread. On a big salmon fly, I want that thread to slide down the cliff, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so I don't want it waxed. I don't want it getting caught up in the fibers of the wing. So I would, I'm a big wax guy. I like wax. Don't get me wrong. And, Uni A is slightly waxed to start with, so I'll use that as my excuse. But anyway,
I started to say, Eric, a little bit ago, that is gorgeous, no matter whether you're real satisfied with it or not. It looks awful good to me.
Well, I mean, here's one I tied yesterday, that of course turned out just fine. But the most difficult part about this fly is not the wings, it's the tail. And I definitely came closer with the wing than I did the tail on this one. But anyhow, it is what it is, and we'll go on to the next fly. How are we doing? Oh, I think I got enough time. Trying to get this in the vise a certain way. I've had a lot of problems if I lift up, the vise doesn't hold, and it can be really frustrating. I love this vise, and all right, spinner.
When that happens, Eric, I found that, do you have graphite powder for lubricating your vise?
No, I don't.
Well, you'll have some here in about a week.
All right. And maybe some instructions telling me what to do with it when I get it. That'd be great. I appreciate it, Al. Just leaving a very small space on this, and I'm keeping the tag end of the thread long because I'm gonna put split tails on this fly. And this fly is one that I've had wonderful success with on Spring Creek, in particular in Pennsylvania. And I got the fly from AK Best, who posted it online at one point, along with a quill body parachute. And this will be a quill body fly. So I've got my own tailing technique for these. And I'll show you the idea here in just a sec. I'm going to use hackle for this. I usually use microfivets. I've got to be honest, but I've done some recently online with microfivets. I use hackle on this one, and I want 6 strands. And in order to get that, I'll fan it out like this. And is that 6? That's more than 6. It's probably 7 or 8. That'll work. And I want this tail to be hook length long. As long as the whole hook, not shank length. Spinners have long tails. Let's see. I want to try to divide these up more or less equally. Okay, here's what I did there. I angled this down on my side of the hook, and that tilts these near tails down. And then I work my way back to the bump that I created. And I created that with X-wraps, holding the far tail in place. Far tail will tend to go down, the near tail will tend to come up due to thread torque. And then you get a nice spread, which I like because it floats the fly better. I'm pretty much a dry fly, I hate to say purist because I'm not that, certainly. But I fish a lot of dry flies. In fact, I'd say fish dry flies 90% of the time at least, maybe 95. This is Dee's quill. It's a hackle quill body hackle quill that's been stripped. All the fibers have been stripped off and then dyed sulfur orange. I'm going to tie this in with the right angle technique. You put the tip at right angles. I cut off some of the really small stuff. In fact, I could maybe cut off even more. I've had these soaking for the last hour or so. It's a good idea to soak these. You don't have to. Once again, if you do this right, the right angle technique, you'll wind up with everything underneath the hook. It's just a different way of getting there. Take it to the halfway point on the hook, and then go halfway down the threaded area. And that's a little tough to see here. So we'll go halfway down the threaded area. To about the 1/3 mark on the hook. We definitely want to leave some space up front on this for dubbing. And at this point, I've got a couple of hen hackles here from a white American hen neck that I'm going to use to form the wings on this. You can also use that one I showed earlier, the Wapsie one. If you can find ones with squarish tips. I like flattish tips if I can get them. This is going to be a hook length wing, again, just like the tail. And we're going to make a dividing point where we're going to tie this in. And we're tying these in back to back so the tips flare out. See how these tips flare out? That's what I want, but I want them to be.
Drop it down just a little bit. There you go.
I want these on edge, right on top. Missed it.
Did you just slip those under the thread?
What I do, and I'll hold them on top.
Oh, okay, you did take a
Do a
wrap.
pinch, and then hold the butts in place or the tips in place as well, and drop the pinch
Okay.
to get them right on top, on edge, vertical as you can get, and then I'll maybe take 5 turns back, try to cut them off at an angle. Bind anything untoward down. Fill in if you need to fill in a little bit to get a smooth taper. And now we'll wind our body. As edge to edge as you can do it. Give yourself a little space behind the wings and then tie this off. I'm just going to trap it a couple times. Cut it. Now I like to, at this point, post these up just a little bit. Not necessarily, they don't have to be straight up and down. They can tilt forward a little bit. but I just want to get them up to where I can then easily see them and separate these wings out. And I'll try to get them placed almost where I want them, you know, more or less. And what I'll do, I'll take turns now, front to back, very diagonal turns, front to back, going up the near wing, trying not to affect the far wing as I was just doing. Very loose turns, and then one around the back of both wings, which is important. And then hold this far wing in place and tighten up. And that locks the near wing in place. And then we'll do the same, but this is back to front. With the far wing. And again, once you get that, tighten it up. Now I'll take the thread back, and I'm gonna dub from back to front on this. And here's my dubbing. For my spinners, generally, I like, because I want these to float well, I'll use a more robust dubbing that traps air rather than superfine. Superfine's great, but it gets compacted, and it's just been my experience. It doesn't float the fly quite as well. This is some hair professional, but anything that's a little bit rougher a dubbing. Plus, you know, you can always make an argument that enhances the fish, the fish catching, you know, stuff, little strands coming off, etc. That, you know, create some action in the water. Although you don't want action with a dead spinner, but take some turns behind. And then I'll go back to my diagonal turns again. I'll go 2 front to back, 2 back to front. Then I'll work the thread from behind the eye up. Make sure I didn't get, yeah, that's fine. And then a 3-turn whip finish at the very front. Hen wing spinner, and it's an AK Best pattern, and it really will kill on anywhere where there's sulfurs in the east.
Excellent job there, Eric. Excellent job. Any questions for Eric?
That's awesome.
The weekly tip, we're going to talk about Elmer's cement and a substitute. And also, before I leave tonight, John Kraft made a suggestion that I talk about the graphite lubricant. So don't let me forget that, John, just in case I get off on a tangent and forget where I'm going. Anyway, last week or the week that Ian Anderson used Elmer's on building some wings for a Carrie Stevens style fly. He used Elmer's and made the comment that it dries out pretty bad. And somebody made the suggestion that he try Aleene's Fabric Fusion. And there's some of it laying there that I happened to get in. And I got another email a day or so later from a fellow by the name of Bob Kern that he said that it is slower to dry, and maybe that could be a problem. Well, I don't know what's slow to dry. What we're looking at here is, I'll get this out of the way. This goes to for the next part we're going to talk about, but this is the Aleene's Fabric Fusion, and here's my Elmer's. Now, this is Elmer's that I bought at the end of last season when somebody did a Carrie Stevens or something with them, and I said, "Oh, my Elmer's is gone. I'll better order some in from Amazon," and I got 2 of them. And just so you can see what happens is that I want you to watch. Let me get up in front of the vise instead. Let me take out the focus fly, and I want you to notice that I'm going to turn this cap. Now watch, I'm going to let go of the cap and it spins back. That's because it all dried down inside and that little brush that's in there dried up. Well, I wonder if the other one went bad on me. Now this is just through this from October last year. Well, shoot. That one also is stuck and I can't get it out. So I do know that the Elmer's will dry up. So I ran some experiments with Aleene's. And let me just get that up in front of the vise. And right here, let's see, right here you can see a spot where I put this Aleene's on there. And I put it was at 10:10 on the 25th of February. At 10:40, it was fairly tacky, almost dry the same day. And by 11:10, it was hard. Now, I don't know if that's good or bad as compared to Elmer's, because I'll be very honest with you. I don't tie a lot with Elmer's. Pretty obvious because all the Elmer's that I own never got used once and it dried up on me. But what I'm going to do on this Aleene's is I'll put a link if you're interested in it at Amazon. And Eric, I'm going to send you one of these Aleene's. I'd like a test on it. And I'm going to send the other one.
Sure.
And I'm going to send the other one to Ian Anderson to test. We're going to find out, and you'll take a look at it hopefully early on, and then by the fall season, maybe have a little bit better idea whether this stuff is worth a darn or not. But anyway, back over here. Anyway, these are one of these will be going to you, Eric, and the other one will be going to Ian Anderson. And
Al, I will say this. I've used Fabric Fusion for other things before, and it doesn't dry out like Elmer's does.
It will dry out, though.
It will dry out.
Oh, yeah, eventually.
It will dry out eventually, yeah. And matter of fact, we just had one of our fly tying classes, gal brought some in, and she hadn't used it in about a year, and it was hard as a rock.
Yeah, it takes it about a year.
Yeah, but it works good up until then.
In my fabric, for my fabric work, I always stick a needle in the point of it, and that helps a little bit.
Sure.
Well,
Okay.
not a needle, a pin, because it's
Yeah,
got a head on it.
Right. Anyway, moving into the next part, what John Kareff suggested, I'm going to go back to the vise. And this is called Spray Powdered Graphite Lubricant. Stops squeaking and sticking and reduces wear. It is absolutely phenomenal when used on your vise jaws. And you'll notice, Eric, that these are similar to yours. And if you pour it right down in there, and also down on the other end, which we're not going to be able to look at right now. Maybe we can go to the far. Yeah. down on this other end, you'll also want to, let's see if I can get this. Okay, yeah, right up in this area and that area. And don't be too crazy with it because this stuff really does a great job. And so I'm sending that. I had several different types, and I've got one I'm just going to send you along with that fabric fusion and another thing. And thanking you for tonight's demonstration. But
Well, it sounds great, Al. I really appreciate it, and I'll definitely try the fabric fusion for sure. And man, my vice can use all the help it can get.
oh, okay, great.
You know that there's a spray on fabric fusion too.
I didn't know about that. We'll probably have to be doing some experimenting as the summer unfolds, and if it's worth talking about, we'll talk about it and let you know about it. And in the meantime, while we're just messing around here, let me put the link to that Aleene's Fabric Fusion over in the chat so you can see if you're interested. Great, go for it. If you're not interested, then don't go for it.
And you can buy it at Michael's and Hobby Lobby both.
Craft Warehouse too.
Okay, and there's a link to Amazon right there if you're interested there as well right now. So you can do it there with a couple of clicks, ever how you want to do it. Anyway, we're going to be moving into the sharing section. This is where you share with all of us. And before I go into bringing everyone up, I want to know, is Evelyn on tonight? I didn't see it, but I just want to make sure. Well, I've been
No, she's
saving,
not.
hello, someone started to speak.
Yeah, Al, she's not on tonight.
Okay, good. Thank you. I've been saving a presentation for Sean Pascali to talk to us. And Sean, if you're ready, I'm going to spotlight this right here, and you can tell us about Mattarelli's legacy tools.
Sure. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. I'm sure everybody on here is familiar with, Mattarelli fly tying tools. You can see a picture there of a couple of whip finishers, the hackle pliers, and then the cowbird dubbing spinners off there to the left. And these tools are harder and harder to find, as you all know, and the prices are well north of $100 now if you look on eBay. However, there's two gentlemen, members of the Golden Gate Angling and Casting Club, who were kind of passed on the tool making privileges by Mr. Frank Mattarelli just before he passed away. They're also the gentlemen who have CNH bamboo rods. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of those before, but they make these tools up in Northern California. I don't know if you can make out the prices on there. I mean, they're not cheap. Most of them go for about $75 for the whip finishers. The hackle pliers are $120, and then the dubbing spinners are $120 also. However, it's still considerably less than what you're going to pay now, for an original Mattarelli. I've got a number of these, and I can't tell the difference. They work very, very well. I consider it money well spent, and they also offer you lifetime warranties in case you have an issue. And the thing, probably the nicest thing about them that I like, is that they actually carve out the thread cutter at the bottom. If you have the originals, you kind of have to do that yourself. But on these, they've actually gone ahead and sharpened those so that you'll never have to use scissors when you're like breaking off your thread and things like that. If anybody's interested, I can pass the email to how to contact them to order and inquire further about their tools. But I was very happy when I stumbled across this about a year ago, and I've got the bank account to prove it.
Okay.
There's another product that Aleene's puts out. It's clear gel tacky glue. And this is what Kyle Hand taught me to use for the Rangeley Lake streamers. It works really, really nicely. And this jar of it is probably 6 or 7 years old and is still liquid and hasn't dried out on me. So doesn't seem to have the dry out problem.
It stays a little more flexible too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it stays a little bit flexible. It doesn't dry rock solid hard, which I've found nice on the streamers because even when you're moving the wings around and everything, it just flexes instead of cracking.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much there, Barry. And I wanted to do a shout out, just a thank you, if you will. I did some work earlier this week with Ralph Rhodes, and he introduced a technique that he uses for weaving a pot hackle with a three-stranded weaving loop. And I'll be playing with that, and we'll be talking about that downstream, as well as I've been in communication with Dutch Bachman about doing some type of a historical thing in relation to the woven hackles and woven bodies. And in some of the correspondence this week, we'll probably like to expand that into more or less something away from BT's Fly Tying Friday and more into a kind of a history on the fly where that's what we do. It doesn't have to always be every week, but when we do it, we pick a fly and we do a deep dive on the history. Hopefully to put it on the FFI website and of course my own YouTube site. But the main thing is to save some of that type of stuff that, well, I find an awful lot of stuff out on YouTube that is not always accurate, and it ends up becoming accurate as the actual way of doing things from the old original dies because people like me go on to the Great Divide. That's it for tonight, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next time.